there, Pat.
Hey, Matt, how's it going?
Phenomenal.
Good to go.
I feel like I'm a zombie a little bit, but
Yeah, you've been traveling all day, huh?
yeah. I flew out of Reno last night at 6:30, something like that. Got in at 9:30 this morning.
Golly, and here you are, ready to record the first show of the Public Safety and Education podcast.
Yeah, we're gonna have fun, aren't we?
Absolutely, man. I can't wait. So let's tell everybody who we are and what we do.
Definitely. So, public safety and education, PS&Ed, started it 5 or so years ago, doing basically hunter ed and NRA rifle training for cadets in the Civil Air Patrol. And then it evolved from that into doing pretty much over 50 courses, different types of courses, different certification courses, 150 times a year to many thousands of people all over the country now. I was in Reno for the USCCA as a senior training counselor to run their training counselor program, and we just certified over 30 new training counselors.
Wow, so bringing a lot of new people into the U.S. Concealed Carry Association. That's
You
awesome.
betcha.
Good to go. So you teach a wide variety of classes, like you said, everything from point reduction on your driver's license and insurance, right?
Yep.
To a lot of USCCA courses, the Defensive Shooting Fundamentals course.
Yep, the new one that Rod Pincus just kicked off.
Rolling it out, right?
Yeah.
So that's really great. So you're an NRA training counselor?
Yep.
So you're certified to teach all the NRA courses?
Yep. All the USCCA courses, hunter ed, boater ed, driver ed, bail enforcement agent, instructor.
And pretty soon the Armed Security Guard course coming out.
Yeah, I'm certified to do it, but you got to have a school, and I've been looking for a location. So once we get a location, then we'll be rolling those out as well.
Good to go. Wow, busy guy.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your background.
So, like Matt, I'm an Army vet. I served 6 years on active duty during the Global War on Terror. So I was in the 1st Engineer Battalion down there at Fort Riley, Kansas. And I got to deploy twice in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom.
Sandbox.
Yes, sir. Got out in 2012, and when I came back, I joined the reserves. I did that for about a year, and then I spent about a year in the Guard. And when I got out of that, I realized that I was really missing the training aspect and just being around soldiers and that mentorship.
Yeah.
So I wanted to get back into that, and I thought, what am I most passionate about, or what is my profession? Like, what am I a subject matter expert in?
Teaching.
And, teaching has been it for me.
The Pew Pew. Teaching the Pew Pew.
Absolutely. I'm a student of the gun. So
Amen.
Since I've gotten out of the military, I've been to Sig Sauer for the patrol rifle instructor course. I started my own business, First Line Defense, and the original idea was we were going to offer training on the AR platform rifle. Didn't work out that way. This is more of because we live in New York, and we're so restrictive here, which we'll get into a lot of firearms laws conversations as time goes on. But being in such a restrictive environment, I realized pistols was where it was at.
Mm-hmm.
So I went back to SIG. I got certified as a semi-auto pistol instructor. Went to USCCA, did a course with you.
How we met.
And that's where we met last year in July. And
it was classroom at first sight.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We hit it off because we knew that we were both into the training side of the house.
Passionate.
Took the NRA basic pistol instructor course. And I don't offer any NRA courses through First Line Defense LLC. I don't touch it because I believe in what the USCCA is putting out, as I know you do.
Most definitely.
And so we'll get into a bunch of conversations about the USCCA and the NRA, and they're both great training programs for what they are. And we'll get into our calendar, which is filling up pretty quick.
Yeah.
And we got that AR class coming up this month.
Excited about that.
I am very, very excited to be teaching that rifle class.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one, especially, and that's going to dovetail into Larry Vickers.
Right.
Having Lav come in. He's going to do the pistol marksmanship on Friday in August, the 16th, if I'm not mistaken. And then it's up on the website. People sign up now. And then on Saturday, we're doing the AR operator course, and then Sunday's the AK operator course. So it's going to be a three-day pack weekend. People can pick one day, or they can do all three if they want. So it's going to be pretty awesome. Both the AR Carbine 101 that we're doing at the end of this month, and then obviously end of October, and then obviously going into the summer.
Yeah, I can't wait for Larry to come back. He came out this summer, and he put on a great class. And I can't say enough good things about what we were able to do out there. It
Definitely.
Was from a range setup standpoint, it seemed like it was pretty basic stuff.
It's private range, so it is what it is. But the nice thing is being a private range, we can do stuff that you can't do in other places.
Well, I thought even with just, it was basically one silhouette target per individual student.
Yep.
And we were able to accomplish a lot because the standards were really high.
Yep.
And the course of fire were very demanding.
Most definitely.
Despite the fact that, it was basically just marksmanship fundamentals training and mechanics.
Yeah, well, mixed in with the drills. I think that's the key and he's got a knack for it. He's pulling it all out of his head, didn't look at notes at all. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah, to watch the way his course flowed from one course of fire right into the next.
Yep.
He just had it down.
One thing that I took away from that, or I noticed as far as a facilitator, somebody who creates course curriculum and puts on courses, is specifically how he tailored the course to us.
Yep.
So there was, we had 15, 16 students, something like that.
16 total.
Yep. And out of that, he tailored to us. So there was more we probably could have gone into, but there was a few students that were, it was billed as an advanced pistol course, but we had a few that kind of, I want to do it. And they hopped in it probably a little too early, and they should have probably done a little more training prior. But, it ebbed and flowed, and he was able to take it and roll with it. And that was pretty cool. And it actually made me think, because I was thinking like, well, you get it's like a participation certificate, but it's a participation certificate because you participated, not just because you showed up like people think. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you just showed up. Well, hey, thanks for sitting on the bench. Here's your trophy. It's not like that. You actually have to participate, or you get booted.
Well, you got to go through all of the drills, and you got to really put in the effort to learn and get better the whole time that you're there.
Definitely.
And I think if he would have seen that people weren't performing to that standard, I don't think he would have wasted their time with keeping them around.
Right.
And I really learned a lot from him as just, like you say, a person who puts those things together, just in terms of how do I want to structure this thing so that it all kind of goes one thing right into the next.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what I tried to do when we were coming up with this AR carbine course at the end of the month. I tried to really hone in on the specific things that were going to get us to the next phase, so that as we're progressing, people are not only able to learn a little bit about the mechanics of the operation of the tool and how to use it to hit targets, but also they're able to see a progression of the skills building on each other, right? Because it's kind of like a house.
Yep.
You start from the foundation, right?
Yeah.
So what's the foundation? The foundation is your stance and the platform.
And grip.
And then from there it's the grip and being able to get that gun into that natural point of aim.
Yeah.
And recoil management, right? And sight alignment and sight placement and all that. So it all kind of goes one thing into the next thing, and we can see a real progression.
And it's neat that you say that, because some of the things with the new defensive shooting fundamentals level 1 and level 2 that USCCA's come out with in conjunction with Rob Pincus and the ICE training group is a lot on that. And one of the things that they don't do, at least in the first 2 levels that I just got, and one of the things I did yesterday, and the reason I just flew back today, was because yesterday I was getting certified as a level 2 instructor. So I was out there and I had to go through the course of fire with ICE training counselors.
Oh, okay.
And they ran. It was pretty intense. There was only 6 of us on the range, all trying to get certified, and I've got a feeling a couple of them probably didn't walk away with it, which they tried hard, but it's a lot of content. And it's not so much, they call it surgical language, so it's not so much, it's nothing new to us, it's just the wording's got to be there because the words are so pertinent. You know what I mean? It's like saying slingshot versus saddle when you're gripping the slide, something like that. If you say just rack the slide, well, if you don't give them how to rack the slide, they're going to do it in whatever way.
Right.
So it's really neat how that whole thing transpired like that, how they put this together, and just the stance and stuff. They don't teach shooting on the move or shooting at moving targets. They say you're going to be best because statistics show 80% of cops miss what they shoot at. Right. So they say, okay, you could be transition, you can do lateral movement while you're drawing, while you're presenting from the holster, but then once you get your base, then you should be shooting.
Right.
And then that way you've got a stable base where you're going to be a lot more accurate, which hits count, right? You got to have hits count.
Only hits count, in my opinion, and you don't get anything for being the first one to miss, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm big on that, and we're accountable for every round that we fire.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I really, try and drill into people's heads is as a concealed carry permit holder, and that's what we have to really isolate with the people too, is you have to understand what your role is, right? And your role is, first, if I can peel out and get out of there and be a good witness,
definitely,
that's what my obligation is
right.
as a responsibly armed citizen,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now, if I find myself in a situation that I don't have that option,
Mm-hmm.
Or people need me to interdict in some way, like my taking action is better, in my estimation of the situation,
right?
Then I have to be able to execute at a high level, right? Because there's no do-overs,
right?
And it's not on the range where, okay, you missed the bad guy and the bullet went into a berm. There's no safe direction on Main Street.
Yeah, very
kind
true.
Of thing,
very
right?
true.
So we really have to make sure that we're getting people to understand that if movement is good, then lateral movement is better, right? Because movement in depth just
exasperates it.
All you have to do is, either adjust your sight alignment, right?
So you're still in the bad guy's sights.
Exactly.
That's why
so
we
when we're getting off the X.
Get off the X.
Get off the X. We need lateral movement. If lateral movement is the best kind, then lateral movement to cover is better than that.
Most definitely.
But if we have no plan,
mm-hmm.
in the absence of a plan to get to cover, we have to be able to deliver the shot.
Right.
And so that's where the firearm skills come into play.
Most definitely. Kevin McCloskey from the USCCA, he always says that your body can't go where your mind's never been.
Sure.
So if you haven't thought about it and you got a game plan in your head, your body's going to be ill-equipped to be able to react, right?
Yep.
You don't want to be thinking about, where's the other exit when bullets are flying at you.
Well, that's why you have to go into, when you enter into a building,
mm-hmm.
right? You owe it to yourself and to the people that you're with to get an idea of your surroundings.
Most definitely.
Right? And so we'll definitely get into some of those kind of things.
A lot of those kind of things.
In future shows and really get into the weeds of those kind of things. But one of the things I'm really excited to talk about today, Matt, is, and we've already brushed up against it a little bit, is this carbine course we got coming up.
Yep.
And it just gets me thinking about not only that specific training, but just kind of some of the things that are going on in firearms training now. And you hit on it with defensive shooting fundamentals and how they're really changing mindsets and changing attitudes about how we prepare ourselves to carry a concealed firearm, right?
Yeah. You don't want to fall into condition black, so you got to prepare yourself mentally and be in condition, yellow, orange, red.
And they touch on all of those good things. And if you guys haven't checked out the U.S. Concealed Carry Association's curriculum, go to their website and just look around and see what it is that they're doing in terms of firearms training, because I really believe that they have kind of taken that armed citizen mindset to a different level.
Yeah, and they've got a little real quick thing that inside note that's kind of new that we just found out this weekend is they're planning on coming out with even more curriculum in 2019.
Good.
And on the horizon is RSO.
Mm-hmm.
So they're actually going to include an RSO course, and eventually, I don't know if it's going to be next year, rifle and a shotgun course.
I think the rifle course,
yeah.
See, because I'm a big believer that your handgun is there so that you can
get
fight
to your
way
long guns.
to the long
Yep,
gun.
Exactly.
The handgun is a life-saving tool. The rifle is a fight-winning tool.
Most definitely.
Right, so that becomes a different
Dynamic.
mindset when you have access to a long gun versus a handgun.
Most definitely.
And we'll get into that too. But so when we're talking about training, right? One of the things that I see so much more of now is I see people talking about shooting on the move.
Mm-hmm.
And I see people talking about being able to, there's different schools of thought now, because like you say, some people want to move quickly, get their feet set, and then deliver an accurate shot. Some people want to be able to shoot on the move, right?
Yep.
And you can't do that at every class, at every level. For example,
Definitely
this AR 101 class, we're not going to have anybody shooting on the move with these rifles, right?
Maybe the Vickers class.
Maybe in the Vickers class they'll get into some of that.
Yeah.
But we have to understand the different skill levels, I guess is what I'm getting at. When you say we have guys coming to advanced classes that their skill level just isn't quite there.
Right.
As a trainer, I love to see the initiative. I love to see
True.
people going out on a limb and saying, you know what, I want to learn from somebody like a Larry Vickers, somebody like a Rob Pincus, somebody like a Dave. I want to get around some of the best, most qualified people that I can and be able to pick their brain. But at the same time, you run into a situation where maybe it isn't safe, and we didn't see anything where it was a real scary safety situation.
Right.
But I definitely saw some things where I'm like, man, we got to tighten these guys
Right.
up.
CIA reverse clear.
Yeah, yeah. The DEA reverse clear thing we saw. There was a guy just down the line from me, and his gun was out of battery. He had like a failure to lock.
Yep.
And so I looked down the line and I said, "Hey, that XD, why are you out of battery right now?" And he didn't even know he had no idea the condition of his gun,
Right.
so he didn't even look when he chambered around.
That stimuli should have he should have felt that.
Well, not only should he feel it, right, but he should be looking like that kind of stuff. That's free. You're standing there on the range. That is your opportunity to get better and become more proficient. And you're wasting time with old habits.
Right, and that goes into knowing your gun, right? And we talk about consistency in everything we teach, and you need to know the status of your gun. More so, you also need to know your gun, like how the safety works. If you have a mechanical safety, grip safety, stuff like that, where you have it, where you have it on your body, what position on the clock, the holster. People are changing that stuff up, like changing their underwear. They change it on a daily basis, and it's just not consistent. And you don't want to be in a gunfight and then go to grab for your gun and be like, oh crap, where did I put it today?
Right.
You don't want to be in a situation like that. I don't know if I told you that story when I did the patrol rifle operator class for law enforcement last year or the year before. We had to do the drills. You come up, you get an empty mag for your AR, transition to your handgun, pull the handgun out. Once you get slide lock, then you've got to do a mag reload, assess the area, and you're good.
Yeah.
Index. So I get through that and slide lock. I reach back. Now I carry appendix, and on the side for my off duty, and then on duty it's here, so it's totally shifted. So what do? Right? I'm bang bang. I come back and I'm reaching here where my off duty
your rifle mags are.
Yeah, and I'm like, and I reach over, I pull mag out and load it. I mean, that's critical seconds you lose. So changing consistency, and I shoot more with my off duty than I do my on duty.
Sure.
So when I do a course for qualification for my law enforcement job, that's can throw me off if I'm not prepared for it.
It's all about the power of habit, right?
Yeah, your motor cortex, get it built in there so you have good muscle memory.
And so, we use terms like muscle memory and stuff like that, and obviously that's a little bit of a misnomer, and we get into some of that
motor
stuff.
cortex being the true technical term of it.
Right, and so you're building a neural pathway from a conscious action to make it a subconscious action, something that occurs without you having to put conscious effort into it, right?
Right.
And I see a lot more of that stuff now too, being put out there in training by some of the other guys that are operating in a different stratosphere than you or I do.
The tactical guys, is that what you mean? Or?
Well, no, the guys that are like putting out their own product lines and have hundreds of thousands of followers. Like I see the way that those guys are have really moved some of that stuff along the way that we train it. And I just think it's so interesting, the science that goes into it.
Right.
And that's what we're focusing on learning now.
Yep.
Is we're learning the neuroscience of it, and we're treating shooters more like athletes now, kind of a thing.
And even if you look at like active killers, and you know why I call them active killers, but we'll let all the listeners and viewers know. I call them active killers because we don't want to focus on the tool they're using. Guns are getting a bad rap. The gun never does it on their own. It's what they're doing.
Right.
And they're killing. They're actively killing. So
Agreed.
I try to change that mindset of let's not call them active shooters because they could use a knife and it could be just as deadly. They can use a vehicle, a pressure cooker, anything like that.
We've seen all of those things.
Yeah. So, we've got active killers out there that we're reviewing what they're doing, and we're doing a game plan to offset that, such as when it originally first started happening, or I should say when it became more prevalent, we would have law enforcement would show up and they'd have to wait for a team of 4 or the SWAT team or whatever before they went in. Well, people would still be dying, right? So changing that mindset now is, okay, first officer on scene, go in, find them, find them and stop them. Law enforcement shows up to stop the killing. They're not there to stop the dying. So they're running by you and you're squirting out and you need a tourniquet. They're trying to stop more people from dying.
Exactly.
And then now the next evolution of that is to have EMTs, medical professionals, come in behind those officers, and then as that area is secure, they peel off and help those people to help save lives. So it's a dual role of stop the killing and stop the dying, all in one effort going into the building. So we've really evolved over the years in trying to find better efficient ways to do things. Perfect example is also the DSF. Defensive Shooting Fundamentals is totally based off of empirical data from body cams, dash cams, and surveillance videos. It's pulled from all that data, and it looks at, okay, what worked, what didn't work, based on video. And there was just a study that came out, I think, about a year ago about law enforcement who shoot Weaver, right? Sheriff Jack Weaver invented it for competition shooting.
Right.
But people use it for defensive shooting.
Yep.
So
it doesn't work.
Yeah, right. That's not what it was designed for, though people just get it. I came out of the academy shooting that way because that's what they taught us. And then I just naturally changed back to isosceles because it's a natural neutral position. And this study said the same thing. Law enforcement they're shooting Weaver, or at least a modified Weaver, something like that. But then when they actually get into a dynamic critical incident and they got bullets flying at them, they just revert back to isosceles. And when that study came out, I thought, I shoot isosceles, but I shot Weaver out of the academy. How? I didn't even remember making that change.
Right.
So we naturally evolve, and things like that, like the active killers and the DSF program, really helps to put it in context of what we need to spend our time on is the thing that's the most efficient. Is it certain things effective? Yeah, but effective's okay, but efficient is a lot better.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. It's like the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line, right?
Right.
So why would we fight our natural body responses if we have these automated responses built into our brain that say, okay, when I identify a threat in front of me, I want to extend my arms naturally, right? I want to square up to the threat. I want to extend my arms.
Yeah, the
out
stimuli
there, right?
in front of you.
I'm trying
startled.
to right. So why wouldn't I use that to incorporate that into how I present my gun
it's like,
to the threat?
What are you gonna do?
Yeah, exactly. Well, that thing, I don't know. That thing makes me a little bit nervous. I've been hit by those before.
I won't hit you with them. But we are going to actually, let's talk about that quick. We are going to actually do things like that on the show. We want to do pepper spray. We're going to get that on camera. We're going to do taser. Tannerite. We got Tannerite's one of our sponsors. We're going to blow some stuff up. I know John Bellavia's been there, one of our students, and helping us out with the show here.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a lot of things we want to do. It's not just going to be us talking. It's going to be a lot of blowing stuff up and getting things dirty and zapping things, and just kind of a mixture of everything, public safety and education, and maybe a little more.
Maybe a little bit extra built in there too.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So, what are your thoughts on Pincus coming to town? You excited about that?
I am always, whenever there's a guy that comes that knows more than me about something, I get excited. Okay.
We're looking at the spring, and that's probably April is what we're looking at. I'm working with Barrett, one of his right-hand men, and we're trying to schedule a date. So we got Larry Vickers coming in August time frame as well, and then Tig, one of the Benghazi heroes that was over there, John Tyjan, he lives in Colorado. He's coming out for a charity event we're doing. I talked to you about that.
Yep.
We're going to be doing that in October. Just secured actually the location. Right now I'm not going to mention the name, but it's local in Syracuse.
Top secret.
It's a hotel / a banquet hall.
Nice.
So if everything goes good, it's a central location close to the airport. And then it's going to be raffles and stuff on a Saturday night. And then one of the live auctions, actually at Bernie Brostek, one of the local auctioneers, he's donated his time. He's going to be the auctioneer.
Cool.
Yep. And we're going to auction off a lunch and shooting time with Tig the next day. So on Sunday, they get to go to have lunch about an hour and then go out to the range for 2 hours and get to shoot some fun guns like, I don't know, my Uzi, my AK-47, my Tommy gun, some other fun guns too that we're going to throw in there, maybe an AR pistol and such.
AR pistols are super cool. AR pistols. Too bad we can't have them in New York State because they weigh more than 50 ounces. You can if you fix the magazine.
Or if you have your FFL.
Or if you have an FFL, right? Yeah.
Speaking of that.
Yeah, how's that going?
I just texted the ATF agent and waiting to hear back from him as far as the process, but apply for the Type 7. So once that gets approved, be able to manufacture firearms and buy and sell guns and ammo and do gunsmithing. So
I can't wait for that myself because I'm really excited to help you out with that project. I definitely want to. I know there's going to be some people itching to get some custom ARs.
Definitely.
And I happen to be an AR-15 Advanced Armor, so I'm pretty stoked. I've done a couple 80% builds myself.
Nice.
And so that's always a good time. Looking forward.
Now you did Sonora
Desert Institute. Yeah, I did.
Gunsmithing, right?
Yep. It was my specific degree is firearms technology.
Nice.
That was going to be my career path initially.
Okay.
So I decided to use my GI Bill to go to Sonoran Desert Institute, and as I was going through the process, I just realized that New York State is so much more restrictive than on a federal level. Like, you actually have to pay an additional licensing fee to New York State. And I said, man, this is just ridiculous.
Yeah,
There's so
trust me, I know.
So much red tape involved. So I said, well, I'd much rather, be around people that are shooting anyway than be building guns all the time. So I said, maybe I should just, teach. And so now I'm really excited that I get an opportunity to do that. And yeah, everybody seems to love the courses, and that AR-15 course that's coming up. I'm just so excited about it because I don't get to do very much teaching of the platform, and I think it's such an awesome gun.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I actually just started another build. I just got to finish the bolt carrier group, get that in there, and then I should be up and running with that one.
Now, when you say you need a BCG, do you buy strip BCGs and stake your own gas tubes and that stuff, or gas keys and that stuff? Or
not usually. Yeah, I usually just buy the parts kits, put it together.
Yeah,
I
don't
get
blame you.
Too in depth.
It's kind of, I've done a build from the ground up before, but I've never gone as far as like actually torquing the gas key on and staking the gas. I've gone like, obviously I've staked like castle nuts and things like that, but I've never built a bolt carrier group from the actual parts. But I do have my preferences when I'm building a gun like that. So you say you're building one. What kind of gas system do you prefer?
Well, that's already all set up, and I actually want to hear from you on your article. So why don't you touch on the article that you did?
Yeah, I was trying to do a little lead in there. Yeah, so I wrote an article recently on the PS&Ed website. You should go and check that out. And it's about setting up your defensive rifle. And I go over a little bit of my preferences toward the end of the article, but basically just talking about some of the things that I think are the most important considerations. And so when we're talking about our defensive ARs, if we're gonna go out and build one, the first thing we got to understand is what is the heart and soul of that gun? What makes that gun work or not work? And that's the bolt carrier. Well, it's a gas system first, and then it's a bolt carrier group, and it's having a good barrel, right? So I definitely recommend that you get the best barrel that you can afford. I have some that I like more than others. One of the ones that I actually am running it right now, United Armory makes a really nice mid-length barrel.
Nice.
It's a modified H-bar profile, 4150 chrome moly V, high pressure tested. It comes dimpled for the gas block, which to me is a big deal because I want to have at least one dimpled area for my set screws so that I know when I fasten that gas system on there, it's not going to move at all.
Right.
And I talk about some of those things in the article, like just understanding proper staking on your gas key is a big deal.
Right.
If you're going to build your gun, staking your castle nut, or at least using some Loctite on your castle nut is a big deal.
And all of this is a good lead into the gunsmithing that we're going to be offering and being able to do stuff like that. So once we get the FFL set up and then we get everything in place with insurance, then that's something that we're going to be putting together, and you're going to be our main guy to start taking orders and working on that stuff. And
I can't wait for that. I'm really excited, and hopefully we can get some good sponsors out of that. Hopefully we make some contacts. Because there's some people that I've been interested in reaching out to that are in the industry that we kind of come from similar backgrounds, and hopefully we can get some collaboration going with some of the. I won't name any names right now.
No name dropping? Come on.
I don't want to throw Mike Mahalski from Sons of Liberty Gunworks under the bus. No, I haven't reached out to him yet. I reached out to him through an intermediary that we both know over at Sonoran Desert Institute. Because I didn't want to be that weird guy that kind of stalks somebody on social media.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
I
got mistaken for Michael Martin once. Did I tell you that story?
You did. You mentioned it, but tell the viewers of the show.
All right. So I'm in Wisconsin. This was years ago, doing the USCCA instructor course. They're doing it at the farm center there in Wisconsin, this huge building. And I'm standing outside getting some coffee. By the way, I'm off coffee now. You'd be proud to hear.
Yeah.
And I'm standing outside the room there, getting some coffee, and somebody comes up and goes, "Oh, you're him!" And I was like, I look around behind me. I'm like, me? I'm who?
Yeah, who is him?
Yeah, and he goes, "You're the face of the USCCA," and I'm like, who do you think I am? Because there's a bunch of faces to the USCCA, you know, but Kevin and Steve and all them. And he's like, "You're Michael Martin," and I'm like, no, I'm just the schmo, just like you. I'm just an average person here taking the course, just like you are. He goes, "Oh, okay." So I don't know if I told you the extended version of this, but I was at dinner with Steve Fisher, Destry Jeter, and a bunch of the other guys from USCCA talking with laser ammo to it was the precursor to me going out with Kevin and filming all the laser ammo videos that I did over a year ago, and those are up on our YouTube channel too if anybody wants to look at those. And I actually have some more I haven't released, so that might be I'll start releasing some more. So anyways, I'm out there, and Kevin, I don't know if anybody ever sees it, but Kevin wears this hat that says "I'm not Dexter," and what that is he went to a book signing, and in the book signing, the Dexter, the books person that wrote the book, wasn't there. So everybody's walking around going, "Are you Dexter? Are you Dexter? Are you Dexter?" No Dexter. So everybody that was there got these hats that says, "I'm not Dexter."
That's hilarious.
So he has it. So I'm sitting there, and I tell the story about Michael Martin, and Steve Fisher goes, "Yeah, I've been mistaken for Kevin." And I was like, okay, that's odd because they don't really look anything alike.
Right.
And so I got back, and I ended up having one made that says, "I'm not Kevin," and I sent it to Steve.
That's hilarious.
So Steve's wore it a couple times. He keeps it in his office, but yeah. So long extended version of it, but it was pretty cool. Now, how do we go on that bunny trail? I just like.
How does anything happen?
Yeah, squirrel.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, other things, locations that we teach in. We're working on Cabela's in Western New York, out by Buffalo. We've already got everything in order there. Just waiting on some dates that we're open for, that they're acceptable with, so that we can start teaching courses there.
Yep.
Rochester area, we've worked off and on a little bit, but we're going to try to see if we can do something in that area. But being that there's no course required for somebody to get a handgun license, that's usually our
county stuff.
Yeah, I call that our gateway course, our gateway drug, if you will, where people can take the course to get their pistol license in the state, and that leads to everything else. Bath Rod and Gun Club down in Steuben County, so we're teaching a lot of courses there. Got some coming up in November there. And then also out in Oneonta, at the Oneonta Sportsman's Club, they reached out to me and asked me to teach some courses there, so I met with the board, and they approved that. And cool thing, I didn't even tell you this, I got talked to or reached out to by Pompey Rod and Gun Club, just down the road from where I live, and I taught my very first New York State handgun safety course at Pompey Rod and Gun Club many years ago. Right, 11 students in the class, all excited about it.
Sure.
And they reached out to me and they said, "Hey, we want to put a New York course on. We had a lot of members asking about it, but your name came to mind. Would you like to do it?" I'm like, "Sure." 35 people signed up within 2 days.
Wow. So you're gonna have to teach a couple.
Well, I'm gonna teach one. The room's big enough.
You're gonna. Nice.
But
pack it.
But what we'll do is we're gonna put more on the calendar. So I'm gonna see if they want me to keep doing more courses. Do Article 35, so justification use of force.
Multi-state.
Yeah, multi-state's a big one. Yeah, especially because people there's a lot of people there. And I actually had a couple people that asked about the multi-state, the Utah, Florida license.
Yep.
So that was nice. And Long Island. So.
What about Long Island?
Yeah, no, it's kind of the armpit of the state. I get it. The foot. It's the stinky foot of the state, right? It looks like a foot.
Stinky foot.
So Frank Maloney, buddy of mine, friend of mine from the Top Shots at Orange County Choppers event that we put on, a charity event we put on years ago. He lives there. He's an instructor. That's his one of the full-time things he does. And he asked me to come down and start doing the multi-state course. So he's got a location, so I'm going to probably go down there every 3 to 6 months and put the multi-state course on in Long Island. So there's some other ones, too. He's talking about USCCA, maybe putting a USCCA course on down there. So
I think the Long Island multi-state will be big because typically people down there, they got money, they're going to be vacationing.
Yeah, but they're a pain in the butt to deal with. Wait, sure. All you guys in Long Island, I'm sorry. I don't mean to trounce on you. Pat and I just talking here. We love you, Long Island. Just don't vote for Cuomo. Yeah. Oh, wait, politics. Got to stay away from that, too.
Yeah, let's not go too far. Although
anti-gun.
We only have one pro-Second Amendment candidate on the ballot for New York State.
Yeah, who do you think that is?
It's Larry Sharp.
Yeah, it's back and forth between the two of them, Larry Sharp and what's Mark Marinaro. I don't know. I don't have enough information to make a determined decision, but I've heard on both sides, so I got to do a little bit of education on my own just to make sure that we're up to par.
Well, I listened to the Joe Rogan Experience podcast where Larry Sharp was a guest.
Okay.
And
it was positive?
I have questions. I'm not saying that
John's bobbing his head over there.
I'm not saying that he did a great job with everything that he was asked,
right.
And I'm not saying that he has no idea what he's talking about, but he's not a politician.
Right.
He's coming in from the outside, And so there's a lot
that means
I think
a lot.
that he needs to learn.
Mm-hmm.
But I also agree with this idea that bringing somebody from outside of the political system might be what we actually need, right? Because when you think about all the politicians that we keep seeming to get as candidates, they're just not. It's more of the same. It's always more of the same.
I used to make a joke that if you ask them, hey, what do you, what's your stance? What do you believe in? And they turn around and go, oh, whatever you believe in. Yeah, I believe in whatever you believe in. Then you know that they're a true politician and they have no desire to help the greater good. Here's a little fun fact for you. I voted for Ross Perot back in the 90s. The first election I could vote in, I voted absentee because I was in basic training in Fort Sill, Oklahoma back in the 90s.
So you were like an early adopter of this. Let's get somebody from outside of politics.
I was.
Yeah.
I didn't buy the Bush camp, and I've been a lifelong Republican, but I've voted for whoever I felt could do the best job.
And I think that's what we lack in a way is with the two-party system. You lack the ability to vote for the candidate that really represents you as an individual.
In the primary, at least.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, see, I'm.
You don't want to say it.
Party.
Oh, you said
it. I'm registered Independence Party, so I can't vote in primary elections. So I just am stuck with whatever candidate.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't want to be affiliated with either party because neither one of them really stands for. They don't encompass what I actually believe.
Right. So I did. I was asked to speak at the Cuyahoga County Republicans Committee Second Amendment rally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw the speech. It was you did a good job.
So speech. One of the things that I love saying, and I critiqued it a little for the speech because there was a lot of politicians there, but I basically said that I was talking about kids back in the day having a firearm. They'd know how to use it. They'd go out and they'd use it, and they'd come back and they'd slap the back straps on the counter and say, "Mom, dinner's ready for you to cook up."
Sure.
And nowadays, you ask kids where milk comes from. What do they say?
Grocery store.
Yeah, grocery store or almonds. Trying to figure out how you milk them almonds, right? And then I went into firearms and my guns. I don't want to offend anybody. I'm a really nice guy. I try not to offend anybody, and I don't want my guns to harass or assault anybody. Sure. So in my classes, I keep my guns bagged up or boxed up before I bring them out because God forbid if somebody the gun looks at them wrong and does anything wrong, and I've told my guns that if they do anything wrong, they're going to be punished. Okay. Now, of course, that sounds ludicrous, right?
Right.
Yeah. Guns are what? An inanimate object. They're a tool, just like a lot of our politicians.
Indeed.
And then, of course, at the event, I said, well, present company excluded.
Of course.
I just had to polish it up a little bit so they're not like, boo.
Sure.
But it went over well. I actually got a private Facebook message from the new sheriff in Cuyahoga County that's coming in, taking over for Sheriff Gould. And it's funny, I didn't even know it, but he graduated 2 years before me in high school, and I graduated with his younger brother.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, so
Small world.
it's going to be a good,
good relationship.
Yes,
then.
definitely. Cuyahoga County is going to be a very good relationship in that sense.
That's outstanding. It's always good to form relationships with not just law enforcement guys, but anybody within the community that you can.
Like-minded people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
We speaking of relationships, we're doing ballistics film, and I just had a call from Vermont. I'm kind of multitasking. That's my OCD, ABC 1, 2, 3 I got going on. But I had a call. I didn't take it, obviously, but I had a call coming in from Vermont for a job that we're doing up there. We're going to be installing ballistics film at a location, and that came from the company that we buy the ballistics film from.
Oh, cool.
In Utah. So that company actually said, hey, we got somebody in Vermont. You want to drive to Vermont? We're like, sure.
Why not?
So, so we're doing a huge build-out, the entire building, all two layers, 2 floors.
Wow.
So, it's pretty good. So we do that as well, ballistics film. We've got a dedicated guy that just does film. He goes around and installs the 21 mil film to help stop or slow down bullets from going through glass.
Now, if I put that, I've seen some videos online. If I put that on a window at my home, right, and somebody goes to break the window with, say, a crowbar.
Exactly.
They say it takes 30 man-minutes to get through.
It can, depending on the thickness of the glass, and then as long as it's adhered to the frame with the caulk that we put on it,
right,
then, it'll take a lot longer. And that's the whole purpose of it. It's to keep the window from shattering and then just falling out. And then some people don't put the caulk around it. If there's no caulk, then the whole thing could just fall out like one big, solid pane.
It just kind of peels off.
Yeah. So having that film on there and it adheres and dries into the glass, if somebody hits it, the glass will still shatter, but it's got this really 21 millimeter thick film outside of the glass or on the inside of the glass that's going to keep it from falling out, and they could, if they shot a hole through it, and now they got to get in there and rip it. And if you try to rip with your bare hands like tint on a window, really thin tint. Now add multiple layers of that. It's like trying to rip a soda can with your bare hands.
Right.
Without twisting it. It's like just like that. It's not easy.
That's interesting.
Yeah. But we actually, speaking of doing that, we've got some samples that we're setting up, and another thing we're going to be doing is recording that, and we'll have that on the show as well. I'll shoot and do some ballistics film.
Nice.
Yeah, maybe I don't know. What should I shoot it with?
Well, first we should shoot it with a 9mm.
Okay.
And then we should shoot it with a 45 to see if we can, because everybody wants to have the 9mm versus 45.
Yeah. Shotgun too. We should probably do a shotgun.
5.56, right?
Ooh.
See what that'll do.
Well, why not just 7.62 by 39? Let's do AK.
Boom.
Or
do
we
it all.
could do Mosin Nagant, 7.62 by 54. Or 50 BMG.
Yeah, you could shoot it with your Barrett, right?
Yeah, it's going to go through it, but it'd still be cool just to see the big hole.
Funny story about those big sniper rifles. So when I was deployed the first time to Mosul in 2006, we're rolling down the route Tampa or Highway 1.
Okay.
We're headed southbound.
That was a nickname,
Tampa.
right? I mean, they didn't really call it that over there.
No, they didn't. We named it.
You
when
named
we
it.
went
Okay,
there,
gotcha.
yeah.
I assumed.
Yeah, during the invasion, it got named Highway 1 because it runs the entire length of the country.
Makes sense.
From Kuwait all the way up north to where we were in Mosul. So we're driving south down the route, and we get shot at in the Buffalo, and the hole in the glass was as big almost as my fist. It didn't actually penetrate through the glass.
Oh, just
where the
like a
round
divot.
impacted, yeah. And they made it through almost every layer of that glass. And
Is it just hanging out there like in the last layer?
No, the bullet itself, the projectile fell out.
Ricocheted out.
But my first sergeant at the time, who retired as a brigade sergeant major, he actually has the window still because he was sitting. They actually, if the round would have penetrated, it would have hit him dead in his chest. I'll leave out the language that he used at the time, but he was pretty excited, and
yeah, I can imagine.
He was yelling some stuff out the window that was pretty hilarious. So that was, but he still got the glass, and
that's awesome.
I think it was. I don't actually know this, but I think it was a Dishka.
Okay.
Like the big 12.7 millimeter sniper.
It stopped that?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was whatever it was. It nearly penetrated. Yeah. And these windows are thick.
Yeah, I remember them.
It nearly penetrated. So I was pretty impressed. And then we actually had a sniper. They shot at me, and they had a tungsten bullet that they had. It looked like somebody had turned it on a lathe, like it was a custom-made bullet. And it penetrated halfway through my chicken shield.
Yeah.
And so half of the bullet was on one side and half of the bullet was on the other side. I thought they had shot my machine gun. So, of course, I wanted to stand up and make sure my baby was okay. And my squad leader, he pulls me down. And
get out. What are you doing?
What are you? I said, my gun. Like, because I'm thinking, like, this thing might save our life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I got a question. What did you say to the guy to make him shoot at you? I mean...
It was just in the wrong place at the
wrong time. Yeah, right. You had said something earlier that you did National Guard and Army Reserves. And
I did all three. Yeah.
Yeah, and I did National Guard first in high school, and not a lot of people know, but my wife and I we met in high school, 15 and 16. We got married, got pregnant, and then got married, and then had our first child, and she's 27 now with a husband and four of her grandkids. So, but anyway, I digress. So I did National Guard, then I went active duty, and then I did National Guard again after I got out. Right. So, but I did inactive reserves, which is everybody has to do for that full 8-year term. Yeah. But you don't do anything in the inactive. Right. So the difference in your mind between reserves and National Guard, do you remember? Can you summarize?
Well, okay, so the reserves are a federal force, right? So they can be called by the federal government to go and fight wars or go and reinforce units in other areas of the country.
Yeah, they don't do anything state like the National Guard.
They don't do anything locally, right? Whereas the National Guard, like there was some disasters.
Yeah, natural disasters.
Yeah. High wind. There was, different things in Lockport where my unit was, down trees and things like that. We would actually sometimes we would go and help out. With
so you were more busy with the National Guard, do you think?
Yeah, I think the mission would, because when you're stateside, there's an actual mission still that goes on, and you're still preparing for eventualities that might come up with disaster preparedness. We actually did, we did a whole train up on. We got like this big engineer kit of equipment, and it was like torches and high angle repelling extraction type equipment. And some of the guys, just as I was getting out, they were going to different train ups to learn how to use all of that equipment. So yeah, they have like rescue missions that they do. So if you guys are wondering about the difference between the Guard and the Reserve, that's what it is that the Guard will be dispatched within the state to help out with different emergencies.
Right.
And the Reserve mission is primarily just to reinforce the active duty national force.
And even more so now with all the wars and everything that we've had leading since I got out back in the 90s. It's been they've been called on a lot more, because I remember when I was in the National Guard, it was just like, all right, just gonna go sit in a room for the weekend, go out and get in formation, and then go back and sit in the room until lunch, and then go have lunch, and then go back out and sit in the room, and then go out and do final roll call, and we're out of here.
I think that was my experience was when I went to the reserves, coming right off of active duty. When I was on Fort Riley, I lived on post.
Yeah.
So my soldiers, the barracks were right down the street.
Yeah.
So if there was a problem at the
right
barracks, I would get a phone call, and I would go and I would
have
see
go
what
and
was
kick
going on.
some boots.
Yeah, right. And if it's Friday night and I've been drinking, I could walk.
Right.
But I'm always with my guy.
Yeah.
And I never, for that whole 6 years that I was in the regular army, I never talked to a civilian ever.
Really?
Never. For what? I had no reason
you're
to.
Recluse? You didn't like him? And what's wrong with you? You didn't have?
I
didn't
lived
like
on Fort
civilians?
Riley. No, it wasn't even.
I
Was
know.
just
I'm
like
messing.
it's like your own little world
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah, I hear you. That was when we were in. My wife loved the camaraderie and whatnot with the wives.
Yeah.
It was just something. You miss that when you get out. And you had mentioned, it's like family. True. Especially if you've been to war. You've been to combat. It's even more so.
Yeah.
We and I had gone to Egypt. I'd been to Bright Star '94 back in 1993, which I don't know why they did that, but and then I also been to NTC, National Training Center, out in California, Fort Irwin, California, twice when I was in. Never went to the sandbox. It wasn't didn't do combat, but I was right in between the two wars, so I still technically qualify underneath that that the war, if you will, whatever.
And you also did a lot of training with those guys to build even if you're not deploying.
Yeah.
To
You're
a
still
war
doing
zone.
stuff. Yeah, I mean, when I'm in Egypt and they're telling me to watch the perimeter, and we're out in the middle of the desert in Egypt, it's kind of like okay. I mean, look at it now. I mean, you've got people that are sleepers, Trojan horses inside there that are shooting and killing. We just had, I think, a story within a few weeks ago. Wasn't there something like that I heard?
Maybe. I haven't been keeping track of some of that news because the national news has been it's just wild out there.
Yeah, God forbid. I was at the airport in Newark, New Jersey this morning, 5 a.m., something like that, and it was on the TV, and guy walks up, African-American guy, really nice guy, and we just started talking. It was a phenomenal conversation, and he's just saying this is ridiculous. I mean, everything's all about this nomination, and it's like, come on, can't we just get back to what's important? We got people being shot in the inner city, and we can't put news on that to try to stop that from happening. It was a great conversation, really good. We're friends on Facebook now too.
That's all. And when you get out and you talk to people, you see all this stuff on the news and the way that things get portrayed in the media, and some people want you to believe that it's just chaos everywhere you look. It's not. It's chaos when you watch the news and they portray it in a certain light.
What is it? If it bleeds, it leads, or can't let can't let a good crisis go to waste. It's crap.
And that's what they and there's definitely an agenda that they try to push with the media, and so we see it, but we don't necessarily have to feed into it,
right?
Kind of thing.
We don't watch. I mean, we've got local channels, but that's just for our rental that we have, so that they can have it. We don't watch any of that stuff. My wife will turn on the news every once in a while, but I don't watch any of the stations. I'm too busy. Somebody's like, "You watch sports?" I'm like, "Yeah, I like sports, but I don't have the time. It doesn't make me money."
Yeah, well, I don't watch the NFL anymore because of all the protests and things that were happening around the national anthem, and we won't go too far down that rabbit hole. But I haven't missed it.
Right.
There's so many other things that I could be doing on my Sunday.
It's like coffee. I don't miss coffee.
That's weird to me. We're gonna have to hit that on the next episode. I want to hear more about that because I am addicted to caffeine.
Yeah.
Right now I have too much blood in my caffeine system. I gotta fix that.
Yeah, I went to Wisconsin last month to get the DSF. I got off it 3 days before.
Wow.
Gave me a migraine.
Yeah, I was gonna say I bet that transition was tough.
Yeah, we'll talk about it more on the next episode.
Yeah, I definitely want to hear more about this because I'm interested in maybe taking the leap. Maybe.
Well, maybe actually, Christy, my wife just found some coconut creamer or something like that. That's good for. We're doing the keto diet.
Yep.
So that she found some creamer that's keto friendly or ketosis friendly. I don't know. She does all that. I just like, yes, ma'am. Whatever you want.
Whatever you put on the plate, I'll eat it.
Exactly. She could. I mean, she's put some weird stuff on the plate, and I'm just like, is this really dinner? And she's like, yes. And I'm like,
suck it down.
Tastes great. Funny story too. First time she made macaroni and cheese, she called her mother, got the recipe, made it, gave it to me. I started eating it. Crunch, 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 crunch. And she's like, is it good? I'm like, yeah, it's great. Talked to her mother later. Her mother said, you boiled the macaroni first, right? She goes, no, I had to boil the macaroni. And when she found that out, she came back to me and she goes, it was really good? And I was just like, yeah. And she's like, it wasn't supposed to be crunchy. I was like, oh, it wasn't? She's like, I love you. So that's the story. And as she passed that recipe on to our kids and saying,
Did she add the boiling step in there?
Yeah, She tells the story just to make sure she drives it home, so the kids know how to cook macaroni right.
So we got the macaroni down now.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't know. Once again, a rabbit hole. It's good stuff, right? So some of the guests that we want to have when we have these instructors come in, we're going to actually have them on the show. So that's another plus. Rob Pincus, he's already said he'd be on the show. What I'm thinking is we'll probably have him on the either video, Skype, or on the phone prior to talk about him coming in, and then when he's here, we'll also have him on the show. Yep. Maybe after we're done shooting, after the course, or maybe before the course. Not sure yet. I'll have to work that with him, as well as Larry Vickers. We're gonna have Larry Vickers on, so Lav from Vickers Tactical, Tig, John Tygen, and some other ones we're looking at probably maybe next year, maybe the year after, depending on schedule. Because that's one of the big problems is that we have too many national people coming in. Their rates are a little higher because they're coming in. Then it takes away from our courses, one, and then two, not everybody can afford to go to every single thing, and I really want to give everybody an opportunity. So that's why I try to spread those events or those courses out over the year so it's not such a huge dump at one time.
Well, and it's better that way, too, because, like for the Larry Vickers course, there's some teaching, there's some stuff that I want to make sure that we hit home before he comes in, because I don't want him to come in and have the same situation that happened before where he's like, wow, you guys in New York really can't shoot, kind of a thing, right?
We heard that a lot, didn't we?
He was blown away by how bad some of the guys were. And obviously it's not everyone, right?
Right.
But at the same time, and that's one of the things that I really want to make sure we're talking about on this podcast is like staying current with our skills and making sure that we're working some of that stuff in on a regular basis so that we get those good repetitions, because so many people carry a gun and they never really touch it.
Ill-equipped. Yeah. I mean, the two most dangerous times with a handgun is drawing it and reholstering it. Those are the times most people shoot themselves because they just don't have good trigger discipline or muzzle discipline.
Well, and how many guys do you know that say, oh, well, I won't look my gun back into my holster because they don't want to take their eye off the threat?
Well, the threat's down. Or you wouldn't be putting it back.
If I made the conscious decision, I'm going to reholster my gun, guess what?
It's
I'm
over.
I'm going to go ahead and take a peek, make sure that I'm not getting my shirt right. Maybe I'll, execute a reload quick, right? So I can put that thing up fresh and gassed up so I know if I need it again, right?
Exactly.
Kind of thing. So, and we're definitely going to hit home on some of those little idiosyncratic things that we want to talk about, but I'm excited about this new show.
Me too.
And I think that we have a lot of good guests coming in, a lot of good ideas that we want to talk about, and I can't wait.
There's a lot of companies locally too, and we'll just do a little bit of name drops also. Other ones that I mentioned, I actually forgot because I went off on a rabbit trail there. My wife says I do that frequently. But Dave Spalding, I'm working on having him in 2020, as well as John. I'm going to mess his last name up. Carrera. He's Active Self-Protection. He does the videos on YouTube. So I met him at a couple shows a while back. And then Andrew Branca. So those are ones that we're looking at probably getting to come in, coming up in next year.
Have you talked to Buck Doyle?
No.
We should look into Buck Doyle.
Well, and this is a good point too. And we did this at the Vickers class that we had, the advanced pistol course. I asked the students. I said, "Who do you want? me to bring in, and
Right.
we can host them. I mean, no matter what the course is, Safari Land for a long range rifle. We're right now in Mercy Mountain down in Lafayette, where we do a lot of our shooting. We're building a 1,000-yard range.
Right.
So 1,000-yard range, right? There's nothing like that anywhere in this area.
No.
You got to go to Albany or Buffalo to get something like that. So Central New York, it's going to be a spot that we can do 1,000-yard shooting. Did you see that new 6.5 Creedmoor?
Yeah.
They broke the record.
Oh, the 3 mile
3 mile shot.
Well, the guy made a custom mount for his scope. That was
yeah, but he broke it.
Yeah, no, it's
I mean,
awesome.
it's not like he shot it with a tank.
No, it's awesome, but I don't know. There should be an asterisk in there, I think, because it's one thing to do it with
Custom right out of the stock, stock gun.
Off the because nobody's going to replicate that, right? Unless they're going to go out and custom machine another mount for themselves.
Right.
You can't just go out and obtain the equipment to do that.
Right.
Is it a great feat of knowledge and skill and ability? 100%. Can't take it away from the guy. And I can't imagine how many rounds he must have sent down range in order to get that that dope.
We should do the video of you shooting the tannerite with the Yeti cup.
Yeah, I have yet to see it.
I got it.
Oh, do you
I
have
got
it?
Yeah, I took a video.
John play it.
I took a picture of you, or a video, I can't remember, of you laying down with my AK, and then somebody else took the video of you actually blowing up my Yeti cup.
Yeah.
My Yeti mug. So I got a Yeti mug at SHOT Show last year, and I loved the mug, but I'm not very happy with the company. So we ended up getting like a half a pound of tannerite, and this was after the Vickers course, and we set up the half pound of tannerite with the Yeti mug on top of it, and you sighted in the AK a little bit, and then you popped over, and you actually, it was first shot or second shot, right? First shot.
First shot.
Yeah, it was a boom, and I was like,
great.
Nice.
That was
on the money.
The best I could have possibly hoped for, because I fired 3 rounds just so that I knew what the sights were looking at versus
Kentucky
the point of
windage a little
impact.
bit, yeah.
And I knew what my point of aim was going to be for the point of impact, and I got it one shot, and I looked really cool in front of the students.
Yeah.
Because that's rule number 1, right? Always look cool.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, if you got to retake 15 times to get it, and you use it.
It's just not good.
No, it's not. But
and so when you guys see the content that we put out, and Matt and I are going to go back and forth on this sometimes, but
there's things we'll disagree about, but
I am a big believer in one take. Let's go out there and let's show what I can actually accomplish.
Yep.
You know, first time out of the gate.
All the flaws and the blemishes open.
It's out there because it's
candor.
the truth.
Yeah.
It's honest, and I don't ever want to misrepresent who I am or what I do or my ability. And then we have Matt, who is the same. He's authentic. He's true to himself, but he wants something that's really polished, and he wants something that's really perfect, because when he puts it out there, he wants you guys to see the best side and the most professional. And I love that. And the standards are going to be high, so we're going to have to hold.
Yeah, we'll find it. Well, like this. This is all. We're not editing this. This is all recorded straight through, and I think it's come out well. So all the shows are going to be like this.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm excited,
and I think that the balance and the energy is right when you have two people that are like on not polar opposites where we're completely at each other's throats, but where we both kind of
we have a lot in common, and then there's slight differences, and we can agree to disagree, or at least try to persuade each other one way or the other.
At least come to some sort of a consensus agreement.
Press checks.
Oh, press checks. We're gonna. We'll get into those, and let's talk about in show number 2. I want to talk about some of our preferential things and some of those idiosyncratic things, because I want people to know that the energy that goes into this whole thing, because I think that's what drives it for me.
So some of the other things, too, we can talk about, because we're getting ready to wrap it up. UTM, you mentioned that. There's a course down in Pennsylvania that Clint Macro, friend of mine, fellow training counselor with both the NRA and USCCA, I just spent the weekend with him out in Reno. That didn't come out right. Just was in Reno working with him.
Sure.
Anyway, so UTM, he's got a UTM instructor course coming up in February, and I'm contemplating signing up for that and going down and getting certified as a level 1, level 2 UTM instructor.
That would be that's a game changer.
Yeah. UTM is phenomenal.
That's a whole different dimension to the training.
And a different show we're going to talk about it on.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, all right. Anything to wrap it up with? What do you think?
No, I'm really excited to get this first show out of the gate, and I like the direction that we're headed in.
So do I.
And I can't wait to see what some of the other things come out of this.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be important too that the listeners and the viewers actually give us feedback. Let us know what you want to see,
Yes.
what you want to hear about. We want to do product reviews. We're going to have guest speakers. We're going to talk about news, things in the news.
Yes.
You know, if viewers say XYZ happened, what do you think? That's the stuff we want to. That's what's going to help us with the content, because we can talk about our life and a course that we taught, which is good, but we want to get them involved.
And that's what is really going to make the show better and I think that's what makes everything better, is getting a different perspective.
Cool. Looking forward to it, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Super.
I'm excited.
And we'll see you guys soon.